Today we're talking about milestones that we've been working through. So the big one we dealt with to start was getting the trailer to our location and finding a spot to park it. And we ended up in a lot at a public storage unit, which worked fine because we got it in the spring, so we were able to work all summer. During that time we ended up ripping out everything, which was basically just done with between us, and we had a couple of people that came and helped, but just hammers, and we started taking everything out kind of delicately and then realized that all of this stuff needs to go. None of it was any good. So I started just kicking down walls, and within probably a week we had gotten pretty much everything on the trailer, and we had nowhere to put it, so I ended up putting it underneath the trailer and got it down to basically the floors, and had to rip up the carpet that they had pretty much installed over other carpet. And then from there we started taking down walls and had to roll it up and hide it in the back of the trailer and moving them back and forth as we worked in the front and worked in the back. So that was a big step there, and that took most of the summer. We moved it to the storage units in the fall. That's kind of when we started doing the real work, where we started on ripping out the subfloors, which was okay. Basically just took a circular saw and set it to the depth of the wood and cut it into sections and cut around. They basically used self-tapping screws that went through the wood and into the metal or the frame. Ended up cutting around those and then cutting around the edge of the trailer, leaving the wood that was in the C-channel to keep structure underneath the C-channel, so the weight of the shell wouldn't collapse the C-channel because it's just aluminum. So cut those out, and then we had to figure out how we were going to lift the shell off of the trailer. But we are in this storage unit. Most people use like a gurney, and they use straps and bring it through the top of the shell and lift it off. But we didn't have that luxury. We had to basically jack it up through the floor, which is limiting because then when you want to move the frame out, you have the jacks in the way. So we had to use 4x4 pieces of lumber that we spanned beyond the edges of the trailer on the outside, and one at a time moved the jacks from the inside to the outside. So by the time we were done, we had lifted the shell up enough to put the 4x4s underneath it, and then held them up on the outside so we could roll the frame out. And that was our next big thing. We don't have the capabilities to work on the frame. I have welded in the past, but it was in high school and we didn't have a welder. So we basically carted it off to a location north of us where they had it for like 3 weeks. And they replaced a huge section of the back frame, and they basically grinded off most of the rusted area around that. Put what's called POR on there, and it works great because it actually adheres to rust oxidization and hardens onto it and creates like a new layer of metal. So we covered the whole trailer in that, and then in the A-frame in the front, covered that with another top layer because it's UV sensitive. From that point on, we worked on kind of getting the subfloor back in, which was a challenge because, again, like I said, we had the jacks that had to go in the middle in order to lower it down all the way. So we did the outer sections of the subfloor first, cutting up to size so that they met the frame, slid them into the C-channel, and then lowered it back down so that it was sitting on wood. And then after that, the shell was actually sitting back down the frame. And then we proceeded to do the inside subfloor and filled in the gaps with wood filler and lined them with epoxy for waterproofing. Next thing, big thing is framing out furniture, so we're going to start with the back and do the bed. We're going to do a gas lift system so we can access below it and everything. And then our electrical stuff is going to be housed up front here. So basically I'm going to have to create a panel here, I'm going to do one here, and then one across the top, and we'll have an opening for all the wires. This whole area is going to be hiding underneath the dinette, so I'm not too worried about how it looks. That's why I reused the old door, reused the old inspection plate cover.
Any other projects you want to work on today?
Might work on leveling out the floor and back, because pretty soon we're gonna be able to put down some tape and mark off where walls are gonna be and stuff.
Cool. And these lights are new? This is what you were currently working on, like last week?
Yeah, so the old incandescent bulb fixtures are all gone. They're on two different circuits on a dimmer switch we have right here. So I can run the back lights with this switch, bring up the front lights on this, put them both down at the same time. Yeah, then we'll have kind of what everyone does. We'll have reading lights in back. We're gonna look for fixtures that have their own switch on them, so we don't have to run a separate switch to a wall towards the front of the bedroom. That way you can just crawl into bed, turn off your light from where you're laying.
Cool. What are those big black circle things?
Those are new speakers. We threw out the original Airstream speakers because they were just paper cone speakers. They were junk. So these are new ones.
Cool. Well, thanks for showing. Goodbye.